From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here.
In the future, we need policymakers who code and coders who understand policy.
And you don't think we have that now?
Well, my experience over the past 6 years leading both NSA and Cyber Command is that we are perhaps a little short of that.
From Recorded Future News, this is Click Here's Mic Drop, a longer listen to one of our most compelling interviews of the week. I'm Dina Temple-Raston. And today, something urgent and revealing. An extended interview with General Paul Nakasone. He once sat at the helm of the NSA and U.S. Cyber Command, and now he's deep in the heart of Tennessee, building something unexpected at Vanderbilt University. He's not just reflecting on America's most pressing cyber problems, he's actually building a coalition to confront them right now.
I don't want something that's going to solve something 10 or 20 years down the road. We've got a problem now. So let's get ideas and let's start to test them.
He's doing more than just talking about these problems. Later this month, he brings together some of the nation's best thinkers at a summit at Vanderbilt on modern conflict and emerging threats.
Everything from AI's broad impact on the nation to biopharma to looking at the changing nature of conflict to how does AI impact the Indo-Pacific region?
It isn't just a think tank panel, it's a call to action. Stay with us. A cluttered desktop isn't just an eyesore. It wastes mental energy, slows down your Mac, and wreaks havoc on your focus. Since 2008, Clean My Mac has helped users optimize their devices, and the latest version focuses on comprehensive care, not just cleaning. With Clean My Mac, you'll boost both your Mac's performance and your productivity by easily identifying and removing large, unnecessary files, including cache files. Clean My Mac will identify outdated files that can be safely removed, so there's no need to worry about losing important documents or photos. Decluttering isn't just about speed, it's about creating an environment that helps you work smarter. Your Mac will continue to run clutter-free with the Smart Care feature, ensuring your Mac stays in top shape. With just one click, you can effortlessly free up RAM, manage processes, and even check for malware. Deep clean your Mac, scan for potential threats, and boost performance all with one click. Experience Clean My Mac for yourself. Try it free for 7 days, and if you use the promo code CLICK, as in click here, you can save an additional 20% on your purchase at cleanmymac.com. Click Here is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company has affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations. I'm Dina Temple-Raston, and this is Click Here's Mic Drop. When General Paul Nakasone left government service last year, he could have cashed out, could have joined a bunch of boards, advised from the sidelines, but he didn't. Instead, he kept coming back to one word.
Talent.
Talent has been a constant for Nakasone. The one thing he has consistently said could alter the trajectory of national security. But it has to be cultivated.
Every quarter when I was the director of NSA and commander of U.S. Cyber Command, I would fly to the West Coast to see what was the latest in technology. Inevitably, everyone that talked to me was half my age. And I'd come back to D.C., and I'd be at the table, and I'd be one of the younger guys at the table. And it just told me at that point that we needed a new generation of young people that were going to come and look at government service differently.
That disconnect between government and innovation haunted him. So when he left government, that's where he decided to focus.
And when Vanderbilt University called, I was very interested.
Vanderbilt University. Not the Pentagon, not Langley, Nashville. It's where he launched the Institute of National Security, and it's where a new generation of coders, analysts, and strategists is being forged, not in war rooms, but in classrooms. Are you actually teaching?
I'm not teaching. I'm running the institute now.
Some say his presence alone, a 4-star general among students, signals a change.
The national security paradigm had changed from even the time when I came in at the end of the Cold War to something now that is really somewhere between competition, crisis, and conflict. The other change are the knowledge, skills, and abilities that young people can bring today to incredibly challenging problems in our national security. Think about the ability to code. Think about the ability to be able to leverage big data. Think about the ability to have machine learning. Think about the ideas of quantum as we consider a future that's much different than today. I wanted to make it exciting as for them as it was for me when I entered a long time ago.
And to hear him talk about it, this isn't about passing the torch. It's about relighting it.
This is exciting for me, and I would tell you that it's been a decision that I've been really, really happy I made. There is just something about being around young people that have just incredible ideas. I was always fascinated by my engagements with young people, particularly in a military setting, where there was absolutely little concern about talking to the 4-star and being able to give ideas I found that refreshing. And then coming back to, a university setting after so many years being away, it's the same way.
But he didn't just want to research problems, he said. He wanted to solve them. So he created something called the Wicked Problems Lab.
We said, hey, at the Institute of National Security, let's have this lab that takes up really hard problems pragmatically. I don't want something that's going to solve something 10 or 20 years down the road. We've got a problem now. So let's get ideas that come into the Wicked Problems Lab and let's start to test them.
And one of the first problems they tackled? How to build bridges between independent white hat hackers who might find vulnerabilities on their own and the government who can tell people about them.
How do we connect, white hat hackers that have this information that might want to share it with the government but don't want to be known and want to be able to do it securely? So we developed a means of communication that could be used that, we identify the ideas of who in the government might be able to do this, might be able to share the information. But again, it's a radical approach to, I think, a problem that's really difficult for the nation that needs to be addressed.
So instead of a bug bounty program, this would be a slightly different operation.
Right. So consider it perhaps, bug bounty with a persistent piece of what's going on.
Persistent. It's a word associated with the general in cyber circles. He had championed persistent engagement against adversaries when he was at the NSA. He basically told operators at the NSA and Cybercom, we're done playing just defense. And he wants to apply that same strategy to inviting white hat hackers to help address some huge problems, like ransomware.
Wouldn't it be nice to have the keys to a ransomware that has just been inflicted on a victim? Or wouldn't it be nice to understand that, there's Medusa, that malware that we know that's getting ready to be launched against Hospital X or City Y? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to give them that information before that happens? That's the type of work I think that we've got to think more of. And we've got plenty of challenges out there. What we need to do is bring this Venn diagram together and say, okay, let's solve this together.
And do you think there are a lot of white hat hackers out there who see this before we do?
Last summer, I delivered the keynote address at DEF CON in Vegas in front of 5,000 of my closest friends.
Hi, I'm Paul. I want to thank Dark Tangent for inviting me to DEF CON 32. More importantly, I want to thank...
Okay, we don't
Dark
exactly
Tangent
look
for
alike,
building a
perhaps,
community
and we
of
have different
hackers.
backgrounds.
Hackers that have been invited, not only in the private sector, but also for our hackers that work in government. And it's so good to see so many of you today.
We share the commonality of we want a safe and secure process upon which we can operate in cyberspace. This is the type of radical partnership that I should have realized 6 years ago when I started at NSA. And I think that that's an important piece of what needs to be thought about as we go forward.
When we come back, the Summit on Modern Conflicts and Emerging Threats at Vanderbilt. Stay with us. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. With online therapy from BetterHelp, you get quality care at a price that makes sense. And it's convenient. You can join a session with a click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/click here to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/click here.
There's a lot going on right now. Mounting economic inequality, threats to democracy, environmental disaster, the sour stench of chaos in the air. I'm Brooke Gladstone, host of WNYC's On the Media. Want to understand the reasons and the meanings of the narratives that led us here, and maybe how to head them off at the pass? That's On the Media's specialty. Take a listen wherever you get your podcasts.
From Recorded Future News, this is Click Here. Let me take you back to the Wicked Problems Lab for a second. Do you have a pet problem that you would love to solve?
I want to get after ransomware.
For more and more people, ransomware is personal now. It's no longer something that happens to someone else far away. It's everywhere.
Inside Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center, computer screens have been dark since hackers took over the data network.
A hack on a critical healthcare system causing havoc nationwide and in Nevada.
And for rural hospitals, it's existential.
They service about 16% of the United States today. That's well over, 114 million people, I think. And as we think about that, when a rural hospital is hit by a ransomware attack, it's debilitating. They have very, very thin margins. They don't have a tremendous amount of cybersecurity expertise, and they're at the mercy many times of having to pay these ransoms. I want to get after that. I want to make it so hard for these actors to operate that we start drying up the funds. Much in the same way that we got after terrorism after 9/11, I think it's the same idea.
But this isn't 2001. Now the battlefield is digital, and the enemy is decentralized and more nimble and pretty ruthless. So you'd like CISA to maybe focus a little bit on rural hospitals? Would that be a perfect scenario?
So perfect scenario for me is let's bring the private sector, that includes individuals and businesses, together with governments, together with academia. And let's get some ideas here in terms of how we go after this. We've had surges. We've had a number of different elements that have been run by different policymakers that have had some impacts, but we need a broader impact. And we need really a strategy that goes after this for a while.
Well, there's a fundamental problem with hospitals anyway, right? Is that they have such a broad attack surface. So you have an MRI who might be running on, Windows 98. It's a machine that lasts for 20 years as opposed to your computer that maybe you replace every 2 or 3. So there's sort of a fundamental infrastructure problem when it comes to hospitals, right?
Correct. And I think that, we've got to think about, so how do we do compliance in the future? And how do we allow these systems in a manner that can be updated with the latest patches to be done, as opposed to, putting it off and saying it's too difficult because, we have regulations that cover this, that no longer are they going to be certified. We live in a different world today. And I think the dangers that cybersecurity have shown us have to be solved.
And the strategy is beginning to take shape. On April 10th and 11th, Vanderbilt will host the Summit on Modern Conflict and Emerging Threats. So let's talk a little bit about your Summit on Modern Conflict. What are the themes that you're trying to tease out from it?
Well, AI and national security, its threats, challenges, and opportunities. 2-day summit. This is the 4th year that we've run it. It's modern conflict and emerging threats. What's new about this one? Well, first of all, what's new about it is the fact that demand has been sky high.
700 RSVPs, a 450-seat auditorium. OpenAI's Sam Altman will be there, so will top brass and white hat hackers and students and analysts.
We're going to have 5 different panels that cover everything from AI's broad impact on the nation to biopharma to looking at the changing nature of conflict to how does AI impact the Indo-Pacific region? And then finally, perhaps my favorite, Vanguard predictions for 25. So a panel of experts that say, hey, this is what we should anticipate for 2025. The neat thing, Dean, and when you come back to Summit in 2026, we're going to go ahead and show what they predicted. So we're going to try our hand at that.
because he says he didn't remember too many people saying, hey, Assad is going to fall in Syria, or that Russia would invade Ukraine, or that there would be 2 attacks on Israel, followed by massive attacks on Iran. Among other things likely to be discussed as well is what happens when AI becomes not just a spectator to war, but a combatant in it.
One of the things that we've learned in Russia-Ukraine is the idea that electronic warfare still has an impact on drones and other type of capabilities in terms of their navigation systems, their targeting systems. And one of the things that has been proposed is, wouldn't it be interesting if we had this type of capability that would be able to make decisions on its own? When it was being jammed, it could turn left or could turn right. It could discern a target. It wouldn't need necessarily a communications capability or a tethering back to a human. This is the challenge that we're operating in right now as we look at our adversaries. They have no problems with that, absence of a human in the loop. That is something that goes against all of our policies in the Department of Defense. There is always a human in the loop for critical and lethal targeting. I think that as we move on in the future, we're going to have to figure out what is the level of comfort we're going to have with the ability of these generative capabilities to make decisions. Is it okay to make a decision on a lethal run? Perhaps not. Is it okay for it to make a decision within a network as we're trying to look for a vulnerability or patch a vulnerability? Do we always have to go back to have a human in the loop there? Again, I think that our adversaries are going to push us to areas that we're going to have to make very key decisions on.
And do you think that'll come up at the summit?
I think that there will be a discussion as we talk about the future of conflict, of what's going to occur here. As we think about the policy implications for artificial intelligence, they're vast.
And the measure of success?
I think I'll know it's successful when I hear the reactions in Vanderbilt University of the students that are there. Does this excite them? Is this something that they're interested in? Is this something that really drives, their ideas about future service?
From Recorded Future News, this has been Click Here's Mic Drop. It was written and produced by Megan Dietrich, Sean Powers, Erica Guida, Zach Hirsch, Lucas Riley, and me, Dina Temple-Raston. It was edited by Karen Duffin. We'll be back on Tuesday with an all-new episode of Click Here. Have a great weekend.
Looking for more of the cybersecurity and intelligence coverage you get on Click Here? Then check out our sister publication, The Record, from Recorded Future News. You'll get breaking cyber news from reporters in New York, Washington, London, and Kyiv, among others. And you'll see for yourself why it attracts hundreds of thousands of page views every month. Just go to therecord.media.